again, I wouldn't look and paying attention to any of the stats today. There's different guys in there with different personnel groupings and mix and match players. I wouldn't read into any stats that you may see, good or bad. Again, I think this is going to be a good film that we can study and go back and look at and evaluate and learn from. So it was nice to see him out there today. I want to say we really appreciate the crowd out there today. An awesome crowd, and they had a great reason to be here today with 3 Heisman Trophy winners and also to see our football team perform. And we appreciate the Auburn fans coming out.
You said not to read the stats, but Mike Blakely had a decent day with the carries that he was given. Talk about his progression and really what you've seen of him, especially today.
Inconsistent. Very inconsistent. I think he did some nice things today, but overall very inconsistent what he does. Again, today he had a couple of nice runs in there, and that was good to see. But overall for him, very inconsistent through 14 days now.
Can you talk about the decision to have Zeke Pike go out there second and kind of how that's shaken out?
Again, we're just we're trying to look for the right mix and trying to distribute the reps where we feel is needed. So again, I wouldn't read anything into which how the quarterbacks got rotated, who went with what group. Again, that doesn't have any bearing how we did that, other than we were trying to make sure that the reps stay fairly even. And so, with Zeke, I think he got a good number today. I'm not sure quite how many, but again, he went out there, and I thought he did a nice job.
Kyle seemed pretty efficient out there today.
He did. I thought that there's a couple of nice throws he made in there, and a couple of nice catches as well from some of those guys. So we're looking for efficiency in our quarterbacks in the passing game, no question about it. So today I felt like Kyle did some nice things. I think they all did. I think all the quarterbacks did some nice things. So again, we'll evaluate the film and we'll see in detail how they did. But from the overall general perspective, it looked like they protected the football and they're pretty efficient most of the time.
Is it pretty certain now that it'll be in August before you make that call?
I'll never put a timeline on it, but we're not ready to pull the trigger anytime soon that I see.
Gene, what's your philosophy on the spring games? The second half are just pretty boom, 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 quick and rug with instead of playing a whole game.
Well, they are. We try to get somewhere between 60. Springs are very physical for us, and we do a lot of 11 on 11. We do as much as the NCAA allows you to do, and our objective today was to get somewhere between 60 and 70 plays. First half we ran a little bit over 40, I believe. So the second half is a little bit quicker. And again, at the end of the day, for us to be able to evaluate a tape, of 60 to 70 plays is about where we want to be.
Gene, have you noticed a change in the defensive players' approach in the 3 months and 14 practices since Van Gorder was hired?
In terms of their approach of how they learn the game?
How they learn the game, how they play the game?
I think that, it's really been very eye-opening, for a lot of our defensive players, simply because there's a lot of communication and a lot of things that they're required to do, in this system that makes them. It's mandatory that, they're always, they're always alert, and they're always paying attention to the minute details of everything within the defense. So because of the communication, I think it's been different for them. How they approach it, they've always been great in terms of how they approach it. They're all eager to play. We've got competition going on in a lot of positions. But I think Coach Van Gorder has brought in a great deal of enthusiasm to our defense. They enjoy playing in it. There's still a lot of learning that has to be done. But again, I think they've embraced that and they enjoy it. So I think it's been a really productive spring for us defensively.
You talked about being out there this morning with those 3 guys and the opportunity to have recruits out there as well.
Well, just starting with those 3 guys, those are just 3 great Auburn men. I mean, they were all great players, but they're great Auburn men too. And so it was outstanding to be out there with those 3 guys, and I've got to know all of them well, and I'm blessed to have done that and been able to be a part of those guys. But what a great, how fitting for those 3. and it was outstanding. The crowd we got today, the crowd that was at the ceremony this morning with the unveiling of the statues, I thought was outstanding. And that's what makes Auburn different from a lot of other people. It's just it's a great family atmosphere, and they came out today and very well deserved.
Were you pleased with the way the defensive line got after the quarterbacks today?
Well, I've been pleased with the way our defensive line has progressed the whole spring. And, again, we haven't arrived there at all. But we have a bunch of young guys still on that defensive line that, I still feel like as the months and years go on, we're still looking for a lot of production out of those guys. Defensive end-wise, we've got a couple of guys that have really stepped forward in rushing and passing. That's with Corey Lemonnier in D4. And, they're going to be difficult to block, in certain situations off the edge. And so they've stepped it up. But even our inside guys, they really, I think they're starting to develop. And, again, they still have a lot of room for growth, but they've stepped it up.
Has it kind of been a blessing in disguise to have so many guys out for the spring, to get these other guys even more reps?
Well, I would say in looking at it like the glass is half full, yes. Obviously, we would have loved to have those guys, especially when you're trying to install a new defense. We would have loved to have had all those guys, because most of the guys that were out for the spring were defensive players. So we would love to have them involved in the defense. Those reps are invaluable. But, we did get an opportunity to look at a lot of young people because of those guys not being able to practice. So, it was what it was, but we made the most out of it.
Gene, how would you assess Kyle as a passer? What does he do well? What does he need to work on?
Well, the thing that just overall for Kyle is the consistency of his play. And if you want to get into the technical details of the position, there's a lot of things that, there's some minute details that, a lot of people wouldn't recognize, and, that's, body position when he throws, footwork, little things like that. But at the end of the day, we're looking at overall production. There's been some practices where he's been very productive. There's been some practices where he hasn't. I think that comes with being young. But again, the more he does it, the reps are invaluable, and the reps building up will continue to help him improve. But he has certainly improved since day one, and I'm very proud of him for that.
Ladarius Owens had a couple sacks today. Is he one of the young guys improving at defensive end?
He is. And Ladarius, I think, again, he's not a guy that's arrived, but you got to remember his whole first year here, he was a linebacker, and we tried him at linebacker. We felt like as big as he's gotten, he's grown a lot since he's been here, so now he's over 250 pounds. We felt like that would be the best suited position for him. We saw flashes last year in games that made us, believe that we're on the right track, and he's on the right track. And with now 14 days done in the spring and going into the second year of doing this, we don't have any reason to believe that he's not on the same track. So I think he's improved with a lot of room left to grow.
Time for a few more.
You got production today from just about everyone out of the running back position. Is that kind of the depth that you've been hoping to find and see? Did you see that today?
It was fairly productive at times today. I think, probably each guy did, have one or two decent runs. But again, we got some competition, building the position, and I think they're all aware of that. So it's good to have, different guys to potentially choose from. And so they've just got to keep working and staying on track. But we have not arrived at that position at all. And we're still too inconsistent at that position. And we got to find somebody who will take the ball and run north and south and do it physical. And we're still looking for consistency in that regard.
You mentioned the inconsistency with Blakely. Is that just in the running game, or is that also in pass protection, catching the ball?
Yeah, that's in everything. That's pass protection, that's catching the football, that's running the football. A good running back does all of those things.